I think let's get back to our Arabic stuff بإذن الله تعالى. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اللهم أخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمنا بنور الفهم وافتح علينا بمعرفة العلم وسهل أخلاقنا بالحلم وجعلنا ممن يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه. اللهم اجعل أعمالنا خالصة لوجهك ولا تجعل فيها حظا لغيرك. وصل اللهم على سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh once again. Let me just check that our sound is all on. Okay. Alhamdulillah. I make dua that everyone's well and in good spirits. Away from that nasiha now, let us get back into our man kasal al-asnam, right? Learning this Arabic with the intention of knowing the book of Allah, knowing the kalam of Allah, so that we can live it. I think that's the most important. We're learning the stuff so that we can implement it. We can be a different way. We were busy with page number 33. We had 33 for homework. So what we'll do is I'll just, because it's part of the chapter, we'll read the whole chapter, go through the meanings, and we'll move on from there. Right? Ru'ya Ibrahim. So as I'm reading, you can listen or you can read with me, but try and understand, right? Remember the purpose of this reader. رؤيا إبراهيم. وعاد إبراهيم إلى مكة بعد مدة ولقي إسماعيل ولقي هاجر وفرح إبراهيم بولده إسماعيل وكان إسماعيل ولدا صغيرا يجري ويلعب ويخرج مع والده وكان إبراهيم يحب إسماعيل جدا وذات ليلة رأى إبراهيم في المنام أنه يذبح إسماعيل وكان إبراهيم نبيا صادقا وكان منامه مناما صادقا وكان إبراهيم خليل الله فأراد أن يفعل ما أمره الله في المنام وقال إبراهيم لإسماعيل يا بني إني أرى في المنام أني أذبحك فانظر ماذا ترى قال يا أبت افعل ما تؤمر ستجدني إن شاء الله من الصابرين وأخذ إبراهيم إسماعيل معه وأخذ سكينا. Okay, so this is what was for homework actually, right? So he said, and Ibrahim took Ismail with him to fulfill the dream now, and he took a knife. وَلَمَّا بَلَغَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ مِنَى. When Ibrahim alayhi reached Mina, أراد أن يذبح إسماعيل. He wanted to slaughter Ismail. وَاضْطَجَعَ إسماعيل على الأرض. And Ismail lay upon the earth. وأراد إبراهيم أن يذبح. Ibrahim wanted to slaughter. فوضع السكين على حلقوم إسماعيل. So he placed the knife upon the throat of Ismail. ولكن الله يحب أن يرى هل يفعل خليله ما يأمره. But Allah loved to see, would his close friend do what he commanded him. هل يفعل خليله, would his close friend do ما يأمره, what he commanded him. وهل يحب الله أكثر أو يحب ابنه أكثر. And did Allah love Yeah, and did he love Allah? وَهَلْ يُحِبُّ اللَّهَ? Did he love Allah? Or does he love Allah أكثر more? أو يحب ابنه أكثر? Or does he love his son more? Let me just give a better translation. وَهَلْ يُحِبُّ اللَّهَ أكثر أو يحب أكثر? And does he love Allah more? Or does he love his son more? وَنَجَحَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ فِي الْإِمْتِحَانِ. And Ibrahim passed the test. Or he succeeded in the test. So I don't know if it's coincidental that we have our chapter today on the relationship between a father and son as well, in light of what we were discussing before. Just give me a second to plug this thing in. Yeah. Right. Okay. So are there any questions on what we've done before this? On those sentences? Anything you needed clarity with, or didn't know why something was translated in a certain way? Am I still here?
Yes, well, no.
All right. So I'm understanding that there's no questions then. One more page in this chapter, page number 34. So what I think we'll do now, inshallah, is let's take
Half
10
Malana,
minutes. Okay, Bismillah.
just on line, what's this, line 15.
Okay.
Why did you translate yuhibbu as loved, past tense?
The reason I translated, to be honest with you, why I translated it as loved, because by the presence of that lakinna over there, it shows me that this is like a continuation from the previous sentence. And the previous sentence was completely in the past tense. So just to have, that concordance continuity. So if you look at the line number 13, it says wa arada, right? Fawada'a. Those are both past tense verbs. Now, though the sentence doesn't continue, there's a full stop there, but the idea continues. So so basically that's why I continue. But actually it's a present tense verb. You could say ولكن الله يحب أن يرى هل يفعل خليله ما يأمره. But Allah loves to see whether his close friend will do what he commands him. Uh, if you translate it as present tense, it wouldn't be wrong. I translated as past because of a continuation of the previous tense.
Okay, Shukran. I think it's also important to note here where there's a wa to also consider what was the context of the previous sentence as well when you're translating the next one.
Yes, that's correct. And also the lakinna. Lakinna means but, right? So you usually wouldn't start an idea afresh with but. It's obviously saying this but that. So because of the continuation of that idea, that's why I translated as past. But okay. If that's that, then I think let's take a few moments and break into our breakout groups, and we can then work on page number 34, maybe like 10 minutes, come back, and we get back into uh, Suratul Alaq. So, Sister Nasreen, can we go into our breakout groups, please? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh once again. Okay, back from the groups. Were there any questions or anything like that on what you guys did in the groups before we move on? No, okay.
Malana, one question.
On number 20, sallallahu alayhi ala wasallam. So I would not translate that.
Okay. Was that the same question from Mirsha and Khalid?
Yeah, Malana, we were in the same group, so we were discussing it. We just never came to a full conclusion.
Okay. Okay. So, sallallahu, right? Will mean here, may Allah send mercy upon, sallallahu ala, may Allah send mercy ala upon Ibrahim, upon Ibrahim, that's obviously in jar, wasallama, and may he grant him peace. Good.
Where does the verbs come from? All those verbs come from?
Okay, there's two verbs there. The one verb there, salla is a verb, and sallama is a verb. But now there's a very good that you asked that question. I translated it as may Allah send salutations, or may Allah send mercy upon Ibrahim, and may he give him peace. Good question there. Where does the may come from? Why am I translating it like a dua?
Is Malana asking a rhetorical question?
Now I'm seeing if you're going to give me an answer. So the reason for that is in Arabic, when you want to make a dua, right? You can use a past tense verb. That's one of the usages of the past tense verb. When you start, like, if I want to say, if I say, and this is this is a respectful way of addressing a request to somebody higher than you. You put it in the past tense. So, for example, you say, instead of saying, actually, you can put it in the Amr form as well. It's also fine. But if I say, for example, غَفَرَ اللَّهُ لَكَ, غَفَرَ اللَّهُ لَكَ, maybe I must write it here.
May Allah forgive you.
غَفَرَ اللَّهُ لَكَ. It literally means Allah forgave you. Right, isn't it? غَفَرَ means to forgive. He forgave. غَفَرَ, he forgave. But now it's غَفَرَ اللَّهُ. So the fa'il of غَفَرَ is Allah. Allah forgave لَكَ, for you, or Allah forgave you. But we don't actually know whether Allah forgave the person. What we're asking is, may Allah forgive you. Now, that transformation into the form of dua, in Arabic is sometimes just shown by the usage. It's one of the usages of a past tense verb. Like somebody comes to me and they tell me they are sick. I can say, Allahumma, oh Allah, ishfihi. Allahumma ishfihi. Oh Allah, and then I use the command verb. Or I can also say, shafaka Allah. Shafa is to cure. Shafaka is the past tense form. Shafaka, may Allah forgive ka. Or shafaka Allahu, may Allah forgive you. You can think of any dua like that. Barakallahu, shafaka Allah, ghafar Allah, saqaka Allah, many anything. It's just a standard rule in Arabic language. If you want to create a form of dua, you can simply just use a sentence starting with a past tense verb as if it's complete. But just by the context, you know that it's changed into the form of dua. Irshad? Yeah, Irshad?
I understand that the context would play a part, but I'm struggling to see how one would actually interpret that to actually know that it's been done, or you're asking? Like, because if there's no change completely, how would one be able to tell?
One of the ways that you look, one of the ways for me as a reader of the Arabic language, one of the ways that I know is because I know the culture of the language, which goes beyond nahu and sarf and stuff like that. So, so to be honest with you, from that perspective, that's how I would immediately identify that this is a dua, because it's part of like the culture of the language. Like we say, sallallahu alaihi wasallam for Rasulullah, radiyallahu anhu, alayhi salam. Uh, that implication is something that's naturally built into the language, especially with certain verbs, especially with certain verbs and certain expressions, etc. So I'm actually taking it from there, but in general, it's just the context, via the context that you'll know. When you are speaking about something that you don't actually have access to, like in relation to Allah, then you generally put it into the form of a dua as well. Like for example, غفر الله لك. How can I be the judge as to whether Allah forgave you or not? I don't know that. I don't have access to that knowledge. So that's why we understand it as a dua. If I say, if a person is sick in front of me and I say, Shafak Allah, it can't mean Allah cured you because the person is not cured. I mean, they're still sick. So that context will tell me that it's a dua. May Allah cure you. So context is important. The context, and also just like in addition to that, knowing like some phrases, etc. It helps in terms of the culture of the language. Does that make it a bit easier?
Yes, that does make more sense for now. Shukran.
So you can form a dua like that. Like if you want to make a dua, if you want to make up a dua. Somebody started a business, they asked you to make up a dua. Okay, you can just use a normal barakallah, or you can say, razaqakallahu tayyiban, or something like that. Right? Razaqa, Allah provided ka. Razaqaka, Allah provide. Oh, I didn't yet mention Allah. Razaqakallahu, Allah provided for you tayyib, wholesome. But the person is starting the business, asking you to make dua for that. So you'd understand it naturally by that it's, may Allah provide you with what is wholesome and good.
So Mulana, it's only when the fa'il is the word Allah, then you would generally use that that principle, because you don't have knowledge of these things.
It can be used for other than Allah as well, when the person is in a higher rank of authority than you. When it's not somebody that then you can do it as well. Like for example, if I say, غفر لك أمك, the person did something wrong. His mother didn't yet forgive him, but what I'm saying, may your mother forgive you, for example. There's another expression.
But you could have Mulana, you could have the exact same, but to mean it to say that his mother forgave him, because someone could have narrated it because his mother said to her, I forgave him.
Yeah.
So you could have the exact same.
You could, yeah.
Okay.
Context is going to imply. And like I said again, the culture of the language, for example, in the Arabic language, there's a saying that they go, thakilatka ummuk. May your mother be bereaved of you. Obviously, it's used in certain contexts, etc. But that's actually something very common in the Arabic language, like that we don't. I mean, if you see a child laughing or you see somebody happy, you make the dua for them. Adhakallahu sinnak. May Allah let your teeth ever smile. Yeah. Atal Allahu umrak. May Allah grant you long life. The form would usually be like this. You have a past tense verb, directed at the person that you're speaking, or whoever you want the dua is addressed for, and then Allah. Usually, that's how the form would usually be of that kind of structure. So I have a start to the past tense verb, then the one that must do the action was usually in a person of higher rank, and then either before that or after that you have the maf'ul bihi. But again, context is important, because the exact same sentence could be understood as narration of something, or stating something, or it could be for dua. So the context is very important. But what helps in that is, once you hear the language a lot, then the you just know the context. Like, we hear in a society barakallah, or rahimahullah, or sallallahu alayhi wasallam. I mean, there's a lot more like that. Like I told you, adhakallahu sinnak, uh, stuff like that. Those are like, just if you hear them, the first thing that will come to your mind is dua rather than narration, just because of the culture of the language. Um, yeah, or the usage of the language. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, not much more time on that. Next, for